Welcome to Keep Going, a podcast about failure and success, hosted by John Biggs. Every week, we talk to an amazing person about a time they failed and what they learned. And remember, when you're going through hell, keep going.
Welcome back to Keep Going, a podcast about success and failure. I'm John Biggs. In this show, we have Jade Kearney. She's the CEO and co-founder of SheMatters. Welcome, Jade.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So we talked a couple weeks ago at South by, and I thought your startup was actually fascinating. So why don't you talk to me a little bit about what you guys are working on first?
Sure. So Matters is a digital health platform designed to support Black women who experience postpartum comorbidity. So think about eclampsia and HELP syndrome. So that's high blood pressure during your postpartum period. Postpartum mental illness known as PMADS. We're we support Black women by training healthcare providers to better meet their needs through a culturally competent certification.
So the issue there is that essentially there wasn't a lot of communication with doctors. How did it work before you guys came onto the scene?
Well, if you're familiar with the Black community's relationship to healthcare, it's static. It's not grown since the 40s, where there's this huge distrust, and it makes sense given the history that we have with the healthcare industry in general. So what we're doing is we're opening up those lines of communication between healthcare practitioner and Black mother. So there's fear on both ends, right? And we always want to say that. Healthcare providers are afraid sometimes to work with Black women because they don't want to be seen as racist or negligent, right? Those ones who really want to make change and are scared. And then Black women are afraid to share truths with healthcare providers because of the way the system interacts with us. And then you just have some folks who just don't want to work with Black women that's a very small percent of people who have prejudices and racism, but the healthcare industry has systemic racism. And so Black, white, or other, we're all a part of the system. So we bridge the gap in communication by educating healthcare practitioners and Black mothers so they can have better outcomes.
Okay. So as we discussed, the conceit is basically you dealt with a failure or problem, and we wanted to talk about how you solved it. I think this will be especially valuable for folks who are trying to do similar stuff to you, to reach out to the healthcare system or to even just building a startup.
I think the failure that I'm thinking about is there's something called like when you listen to too many mentors, right? If you come to an accelerator program, I can't remember the name of it, but it's like too many folks tell you what to do and your brain gets scrambled because you're trying to do everything else and you're not listening to yourself. That was my biggest problem when I started out as a founder, because if you're a founder and you're a person of color, if you're a woman, you are automatically told that you don't fit in. That, wow, it's amazing that you're here, right? Because most people like you aren't here. So the first thing you do is like, well, I know people like me, so I have to listen to people who aren't like me. And it's not the people who aren't like me's issue. It's my issue, right? I think you know more than me, but nobody knows your business more than you, right? Nobody knows what your business needs more than you. Other folks may know how to navigate venture capital, startup life, entrepreneurship in ways speaking from experience, but they are not your business. And I ran around for 2 years trying to be everyone else but myself. And it really hurt me. It hurt me when I thought about my customer segment. It hurt me when I was hiring different people. It hurt me because I wasn't listening to myself. And I think it led to certain failures when it came around just keeping money in the bank. I was hiring people who I thought I needed, right? Because other folks told me to do that. right? I took investors who I thought I needed because other folks said that's what I should be doing. And I didn't really have a mind of my own, right? And it wasn't to anyone else's fault. It was my own because I realized that I had, and everyone should have a business coach, by the way. One of my failures, I didn't have a business coach. I had imposter syndrome really bad. Like, I shouldn't be here. I'm not worthy. Everyone else that's here, they have more experience than me. I'm going to fail. I've never said that out loud, but that's how I felt for a really long time. So I think taking a step back and owning that that's how I felt helped me change course. It helped me say, wow, I'm confused. I'm listening to all different people. I'm not listening to myself. I'm not speaking up for myself. Why am I doing this? One, I hired a business coach. I hired a therapist, and I had to really sit with myself and get to the root of the issue, right? I looked at all the decisions that I had made that I said, you know what? That wasn't what I wanted to do there. And look at how that turned out, right? I didn't want to hire this person. We didn't need to hire this person. I hired this person, and the end result wasn't what we needed as a business. And that all came from me being insecure and my own insecurities. No one else did that. I will say the public, the media, the public tells you you're not supposed to be there, but only you can feel like you're not supposed to be there. And so I don't think it's something that founders talk about enough, especially founders of color, especially women of color.
What were some of the examples of folks that you hired or investors that you took on that you didn't like?
Product folks, investors who were not aligned with our want to focus on revenue and not focus on venture capital. Investors, investors who didn't have our best interests at heart, and I couldn't tell. Some of that, and I will say this, some of that came out of me not speaking to people around me who I trust because I was nervous, like I made a mistake and I don't want to look stupid. And so I would bring somebody, we had an investor, and like immediately I felt like this is not the right thing, but I was scared. Like I was literally scared because I don't want to fail, because I don't want these people who are my support system around me, I don't want them to think they're supporting the wrong person. I don't want them to think that I don't know what I'm doing. But the reality is I was a year and a half in. I really didn't know what I was doing. And to be able to own that as well is like so freeing, right? And it helps you make different decisions. I needed to experience that. I needed to go through the failures of hiring product people that shouldn't have been there, or, sales associates or researchers that shouldn't have been there. So I could say, oh, I know what we need to do now. I know what I don't want to do.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Like you basically, you felt even worse about an accelerator experience than even the average startupper who, and let's face it, it's kind of a lot of white dudes who go out to these things.
Yeah.
And those guys know nothing. I assure you, I've been to multiple accelerators, but you felt even worse about it, which is kind of ironic and kind of frustrating, I'm sure.
Well, my accelerator experience, had I not gone through accelerators, I wouldn't even have the knowledge that I have. So I want to say the accelerators I went through, I enjoyed the experience. But what comes out of that is so many voices, so many opinions. And if you're not careful, right, you get sucked into that. Like, well, this person said I should do this, and they're a multimillionaire, so I should do it. This person has this experience. This person is a white male. Look, every boss I ever had was a white male. So I'm now the CEO. It's hard to say, yo, no, I disagree with you. No, this is what I want to do. And that's just the dynamics. And I say this all the time, the dynamics at play, and you don't realize it until you're in it. That's what I'm saying. Like, people have to listen to themselves, because I'd rather fail because of my own thoughts than to fail because I didn't trust myself. It's two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So in that vein, what would you recommend for maybe a young person like yourself going into accelerator or trying to raise capital? What would you have done differently?
One, I would have um, made sure that I understood what it meant to take on investors and the relationship that you get into with people. Investors are with you for the life of your business, right? And I had people around me who told me, you should research this person, right? Research everyone. But when you need money, you're not thinking like that. So patience, right?
Mm-hmm.
So step back, right? Do your research on folks that you're getting into bed with, right? Second, like have a therapist, like black, white, male, female, or anything. This is hard for everybody. It's not easy for anybody. So have a therapist because like your your interactions with your mental health, your neglect of your mental health can ruin your business. As a CEO, you are your business. And I learned this from Alexander Packard, who said, if you're not okay, the business is not okay. Right. And then also like write your fears
Mm-hmm.
down, right? Write what you're afraid of. I never did that until I got a business coach. Like I was also afraid of success. What does that look like for me? What does that mean for me? What does that mean for me as a person that looks like this in my community? Like, what does it mean if I don't do so well the next time? And so I really think you have to be okay with yourself and you have to listen to your voice and you have to be okay with making mistakes and you have to own those mistakes so that they're your own and you can learn from them instead of like being in a room full of people who you think are smarter than you. Because let me tell you, some people know more than you, but nobody knows what you need to do more than you.
The idea of fear of success is fascinating. How did you negotiate that?
I think it's something that I work on regularly. I have an amazing business coach. I have an amazing therapist. I'm from Newark, New Jersey. My parents were teen parents. Both my parents were in jail my first day of college. And um, I felt like kind of like survivor's guilt. So it's not everyone's story, but the fear of success, meaning like when you're a Black woman, is like all eyes on you. Um, you know, if everyone's looking at me and I'm successful, what if I then fail? Like, what does that look like? Am I really the failure? Right? What does money mean? Right? What does money mean in the context of success? And what and who am I responsible for? What people don't really understand is that Black tech founders right now, we're first generation tech founders. Our grandparents and our parents bootstrapped. We don't have any other examples of
Mm-hmm.
venture capital. We're the first ones. So if you're the first one, the burden is on your shoulders, right? The mistakes are on our shoulders. So it's very difficult because we're trying to trailblaze for everyone else, but we've not experienced this before, right? So being the first one, being on a t-shirt, it's a lot. It's a lot, especially when people who look like me are not in the space.
What are some things that we can do to fix that essentially? And what are you guys trying to do on that front?
Well, we do something called Black Girl Tech Day. We do it in Johannesburg, South Africa. We do it in Brooklyn. We do it in Atlanta. And that's where we just bring Black female founders together and we talk about resources. We connect them with people in the business with their ideas just to talk about it, right? And I think what other people can do is like be an ally to somebody. Like if you see a person of color, a woman of color who has a startup, who's trying, like connect them with people that can really help them and ways that you can be helped, right? Or guidance and money. Like a lot of people say, I'll be a
Mm-hmm.
mentor, right? But people need money too. So connect them with folks who invest in founders like them, right? And it grants to help people like them because 0.6% of venture capital is insane. There are only less than 100 Black women who have raised over $1 million. Those numbers make no sense. They don't make sense. So how do we do that? We need partners in this, right? And when you see a Black woman, when you see a Latina woman who who was in the room know that she had to go to hell and back to get there. So she's probably going to be good at whatever she does. Honestly,
What's some advice for raising for people of color?
be yourself. Be yourself. Don't try to be anybody else. Don't try to mimic what we see, tech bro culture. Don't do that. That's not who you are, unless that's who you are. I was myself. In the beginning, I wasn't. In the beginning, I was just scared. I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, oh my God, these people are going to give us money for my idea? Like, I didn't get it, right? And then when I realized that, like, we're social impacts, right? For-profit social impacts. And so it's like, what I'm doing is so near and dear to me. I wear it. So I just talk about it. I just talk about it genuinely from my heart. Marge talks about the numbers. I talk about why we're doing this and where we're going, right? And I think that's important.
Mm-hmm. And understanding those numbers, there's a huge market, obviously, for this, for tech, putting tech into these communities. What do you think is the hole right now? What do you think needs to be focused on by entrepreneurs?
I think what needs to be focused on, I'll talk about healthcare in particular. We need to focus on the integration. I'm here. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I hear you now. Yeah.
We
Maybe
need
start.
to.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. What we need to focus on is how to integrate into hospital systems, making sure our technology is up to par, meeting all the things, all the HIPAA laws, all of the, the personal health records and files and all of that. Make sure we understand what we need to go into the hospital, because what you don't want to do is do all the legwork, have all the meetings, and then find out what you build is not compatible, right? So making sure you know someone in the healthcare space who can help you identify with what your product, how your product can be most useful in these spaces.
All right. Excellent. Jade, thank you for joining us. What's the website that people can check out?
www.health.
All right. Wonderful. This has been Keep Going, podcast about success and failure. I'm John Biggs. We'll see you next week.